Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, one more time. Good morning.
Morning.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Okay, just a couple of announcements. We'll make it quick. Base camp today is on what?
Prospecting effectively to get more business or yes.
Thanks, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, base camp today is going to be with Russ, prospecting effectively to set more appointments. There's nothing like more exciting for me to hear from people that, hey, I just set an appointment. Congratulations, Jocelyn. I don't know if you're going to share that as a gratitude today or not, but we're reading, and also the book we're reading this tomorrow is exactly what to say. And I know I've assigned chapters to you guys. Raise your hands. You guys are doing a chapter. Okay, make sure you're there. Urbano, Carolina, you are too, and then Aubrey, you are too, right?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if we got a chapter this week, but I can do whatever.
Oh,
I read
it was one page.
Yeah, no problem. So make sure you guys come in, you guys, it's a great book. It has great tips to add into your dialogue and just the things that you say, even in your script books. So you guys, it's a great book. Make sure you read that. We have decided to change call blitz to Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. every week. Okay, so just if you guys want to put that in your calendars, that is going to go out. There's actually a graphic that's going to go out too for a reminder. So make sure you put that in your calendars. Summit again is on February 14th, and I think that's about it. Let's share gratitude or win. Midweek. Anyone? Jocelyn, go for it.
How we got in the first one.
Woo! Congratulations, we worked very hard for that. Proud of you. Persistency. Anyone else?
Okay, I'm grateful for accountability. We are reading, Aubrey. And we had a few other people that said they were going to work with us, so
Yeah,
this is awesome.
I love that.
And our script too is on love, and I just read it for the first time.
Oh,
I was supposed to read it early when I
Yeah.
first woke up, but it is awesome. So if anyone has not done the steps
Mhm.
in this book, I think it's gonna be incredible, and it's a 10-month process, and
yeah,
I'm excited and I'm committed. to
yeah.
it.
And it's such a small read and it's got the scrolls, you guys, it's awesome. It's just simple principles that you follow in life. I love it. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. Okay, George, all you. I am grateful for heat.
Yes.
So I'm probably gonna share that too, but it was freezing in our house yesterday. I think the furnace went out for
Oh,
like
no.
a couple of hours. I'm like, what is happening? Actually, one of our nephews was moving boxes and he covered the vent outside. So it shut it down. Like if there's not ventilation, it'll shut down. I'm like, why is it so freezing? I'm like, it's cold like it is outside. And we like freaked out. And then my brother-in-law called, he's like, did you take the vent outside? I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. That's what it is. I'm like, simple fix. It's not gonna cost us $1,000 or $2,000 to fix it. So I was grateful for heat.
Wow.
Just one of those moments. I had a moment of inspiration, Ruby, that I needed to send a text to my sister. So I had to send it.
That one.
Tell her how much I love her. Appreciate her. I've only known her, actually, this coming, is this March? We'll see. If not, we'll throw it away. Yeah, let's look at that. 4 years ago, on January 24th was the first time 4 years ago I spoken to my birth mother. And some of you know that story. And then February 15th is when we met for the first time. And I'll never forget, it seems it's crazy. That was 4 years ago. I mean, you were right there through the whole journey and seeing the whole thing unfold. So it's been quite a thing. So I still remember when I first met her, she lived in the Bay Area at the time. Now she lives 5 minutes from here. And Isaac, bless my kid's heart, we would go to lunch, Brenda Lee, or dinner, and it would be like 3-4 hours. And finally he whispers, he goes, can we please just have a normal lunch? Meaning we would just sit there and talk. It was quite a cool experience. So with that, actually, that's why it's on my mind, is just a couple of quick things. So write this down. Nothing, I'm not gonna write the whole thing, just write this down. But nothing I create is not something I did not see before, which is totally incorrect English, just so you know. Bottom line is, nothing you create You didn't see, you saw, sorry, not, you did not, you saw before. Sorry, not did not. I'm messing this whole thing up.
That's
See?
Nothing I create.
not
it's
something
nothing-
Yeah, I mean, bottom line is you have to, maybe a better way to say is you have to see it, right? Before you get it. Wayne Dyer years ago used to say, I'll believe it when I see it, is what most people say, right? When I see it, I'll believe it. And he said, when you believe it, sorry, when you believe it, you'll see it. He reversed it and said, when you see it, you'll receive it. And the whole point is that meaning that if you can't see what you're doing and where you're heading, the fact is that you're going to keep repeating. And the thing that I just want to point out, and this is where I'm going, and I wasn't very clear right there, but it's this, and that is I was reflecting, of course, this 4 years ago, coming up here in 2 weeks from today, or I guess 15 days from today, is that all of a sudden I'll be celebrating this 4-year anniversary of meeting my birth mother for the first time, who had me when she was 16 years old. And as I was reflecting on that, I was thinking about a moment that so this is what we're 2023. So in 2019, let's see here, no, 2018, Danette Gramp, right? One of our, she was the marketing director. Many of you know her, but she came up to me and she got really close to us and she said, what's your goal for the year? And I said this, I said, I will find my birth mother. And I literally put my finger in her face. And the thing is that I had said that I would find my birth mother. This is interesting. I had said it for over 12 years. And I would kind of just, maybe a little bit like sometimes we prospect. I just kind of going through the motions, kind of like, yeah, I'll try. I'll register for this. I'll go look in that site. I'll see if she registered at the state. There's a state thing you can register for that if both people register, they'll release the information to each one of them to be able to contact. And so I kind of did that a little bit. And then I thought, oh, I'll try ancestry.com, see by chance if she had by chance done something there. And she hadn't. And then I had a dear friend of mine, and a lot of you know her. In fact, I was texting with her yesterday, Cheryl Knowlton. Well, Cheryl Knowlton also, for what it's worth, is also, for those who knows Cheryl Knowlton. Anybody know Cheryl? All right. Well, Cheryl, a lot of people don't know that. Cheryl was actually adopted. Also when she was just an infant. And her story is really at some level a little bit strange and tragic, not in a bad way, just really challenging, because when she found her birth mother really took a claim that, something, wrong had happened and why she was born. And it just isn't true. I mean, everyone and anyone around her knows it. It's just that her mother lived this lie of how she got pregnant. And because she came from a very religious family, and she had to make a claim. But anyway, so, I mean, the person that she had the baby with, she'd been dating for 3 years, or 2-3 years, somewhere in that realm. But anyway, Cheryl, so here I am, I'm supposed to find my birth mother, and I am like, Cheryl, you need to find because she wanted to find her birth parents. So she was working here at the time, and I said, look, I want you to write it down, and I want you to get really clear on it. And I want you to start visualizing it and seeing it and blah, 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 blah. All the stuff that I would tell you, visualize it, write it down, right? Set the goal, set the intention, right? Pray about it, meditate about it, like feel what it would feel like to find your birth mother and father. So anyway, she does all this. And I am telling you, like within 90 days, I mean, she's been looking, Audrey, for like years. 90 days later, she finds her. And I find it fascinating how fast. And so the thing I'm bringing this up is that, so here I am, I'm wanting to do the same thing, and yet I haven't done it. And so remember, I then so that had happened in basically 2017. And in 2018, I said to Danette, I will find my birth mother. Now, what's important, if you were to recognize what I said, and this is really interesting also to me, is I was so clear on the fact that I would find my birth mother. Find. And what I find, again, interesting is I did find her that year, and I'll tell you just a little more about that in a second. But I just want you to think about, like, your language matters. What you say matters. And what is really profound to me, and this experience for me personally, is that I declared verbally, I said, I'm going to find her. And I did. I found her. And then I had to restructure some things, which I'm going to tell you here in a second, because it's relevant to you selling real estate and just really living the life that you're destined to live. And so I said that to Danette. I was going to find her. Well, again, Cheryl is sitting here saying, hey, you should find your birth mother. And so I'm not exaggerating this. I made that decision. And yet I had made the decision so certain that I was going to find her. I want you to just think about this. I want to just pause in this. Just ask yourself, how certain are you that you're going to set an appointment? I want you to think about your language. Sometimes we say, I'm going to set an appointment. Sometimes we say we need a closing. Sometimes we say we need a deal. Sometimes we say, and I would even say the need is not even the right word, but I will close a deal. I will have set an appointment. And we start into these I and I am statements. And all of a sudden, there's something about this universe that all of a sudden, when we start getting really clear on what we want, the world starts to almost conspire with us to try to have it happen. Everything around you starts to come into play. Every little unknown thing that you didn't think could happen, the unexpected this, the unexpected that. And I want you to think about this for a minute, is where's your focus? Now, what I find interesting is that I watch a lot of you. I can watch my own son, Isaac, and I'm watching him where he's setting appointments. Right? He's gotten really clear on setting appointments. I mean, Monday he set 3 appointments. 2 of them referred out. 1 of them he's going to go on. After we had a little sit down on Saturday morning, he set this other great appointment. And all of a sudden the focus became, all right, I'm going to set an appointment. So I want you to really listen that, yes, today, set an appointment. But what else do you intend to have happen? And what language will you use? What will you say? How will you say it? What is the intentions that you have? So remember, I said I was going to find my birth mother. So in August of 2018, I'm on my way to a little prospecting event. I am literally just about to get into the shower in my hotel room. And I'm down in Las Vegas. We're down there with a group of agents. I can't remember, were you down there with us at that time, right? And we had like, I don't know, 7 or 8, 10 of us. I don't know what it was. And we were down there with doing a Mike Ferry event thing and a prospecting. I am literally, I am right there. And I open up my email real quick and I see this thing that says 23andMe. And I had done Ancestry.com, but remember, I hadn't really done anything. And finally, Cheryl put an accountability on me and said, hey, starting this day, $100 a day if you don't send in this 23andMe. And what I didn't realize is that there's all these different, like if Ancestry.com has their own DNA, like grouping, all of them go to the FBI, just so if you didn't know that, by the way, if you're worried about that. But every one of them, like the Ancestry.com has their group, then 23andMe has their group, Heritage has their group, meaning there's a handful of different ones that are out there. But the thing is they don't link, like Ancestry.com and 23andMe aren't linked together. Well, I had done Ancestry.com and I had found 3rd and 4th and 6th and 8th and 10th cousins, but that is so removed. And I even reached out to some of those 3rd cousins, and of course they're like, "Boy, I don't know. I mean, I've not, your story doesn't make any sense, or I don't recognize your story." Remember, I said I would find my birth mother, so I'm there in Vegas now. A month later, because I probably took it in July, so it was August. I remember it. And I get the email and it says, you have someone connected to you. And it says, this is either a sibling or a cousin, first cousin. Well, lo and behold, that person ended up being my brother, born on the same day, 12 years or later, same day, 12 years later. And I sent him that, and I was so nervous because of the amount of rejection, but I sent him an email that day and he didn't respond. And 2 weeks later, I sent another email saying, hey, we have common DNA. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, they don't want me part of their life. And that, all the stories, like, I mean, I say the same thing, like when you're prospecting, just think about it. What's the stories that you're telling yourself? Oh, no one's going to set, they don't want me to push that hard, or they don't want me to, to ask that many times or ask many questions. Just think about what you're setting your intentions to be, right? And then the language that's coming through you and the fear of rejection. I mean, we all have it. It's just how you regulate it. It's how you manage your rejection. It's how you manage your fears. So as I'm moving through this, what is really fascinating to me is the level of fear was off the chart. In fact, I can tell you, if it wasn't for Mackenzie, who was like this little bulldog, I don't know if I would have responded to anybody because I was so nervous about the rejection. Now think about prospecting. Do you not even just prospect because you're worried about the rejection? Do you convince yourself, well, I just don't feel like doing that today, but what you're really saying is I don't feel like being rejected today? I mean, you start realizing, man, whether it's prospecting or this business or real life, it's kind of all the same stuff. And so here I am, and I send this email 2 weeks later, I send another one and there's no response. Well, then Cheryl, who had someone she knew how to find some people. And so I hired this genealogist guy and I hired this former CIA agent, literally, and they went out and I had forgotten. So here we are, August, I maybe September, I give it. And then here we are, and maybe you guys, some of you may have been there. You might have been there, Brenda. I don't know if you were there, Ruby, but when we were in New Jersey at the Tony Robbins event.
Oh, no.
Were you there? There was like 40 or 50 agents that were there. And all of a sudden, I am like, I can't be any more further away from Tony Robbins than Nita Isaac. And all of a sudden, Nancy, I get a text from this guy, Scott. And Scott says, hey, can you call me? It's important. And then, of course, Cheryl is like ballistic on my email, on my text. She's like, you need to call me, you need to call me. And Tony, I mean, if you've been at UPW, the dancers are up there, it's ready to get going. And all of a sudden, I'm like walking out as Tony literally is going on the stage, and I'm this far away from Tony. And I'm walking up, and we're at the where the New Jersey Nets play basketball, the Prudential Center, and I'm walking all the way up to the top. And I get out there and I start calling him, and I have my little earpiece in, and I start calling him. He goes, oh, good. Hey, I just sent you. He goes, hey, I'm glad you called me. I just sent you something. Open up your text. And I open up a text, and if I had a picture, I'd show. I have it, but anyway. And he sent me a picture of the yearbook of my mother, and he said, hey, I think that we're 99% certain that's your mother. Actually, his first question was, does that person look familiar to you? Of course, if you've seen my mother, I'm like a spitting image of her, right? I mean, it's like if I saw her on the street, I'd be like, man, I swear I know you. Like, it's like crazy. And anyway, so he sends that. And of course, man, I'm telling you, I lose it, Brandon. I'm an emotional wreck. Like, I cannot stop crying. But I mean, and it was really one of the first times in my life, where I've ever just cried for pure joy. I just cried. I mean, I just like could not. And then I had not come in. People were worried. So I had a few friends that came up and like, are you okay? And they're like, what's wrong? And I'm like, it's okay. I'm okay. And like, it didn't matter what was going on. I would just go to an emotional wreck. And so that day really changed something in me, where I realized as I found her. Now, here's the story continues. Remember, I set an intention. I just want you to think about, what's the intention you have for today, this month, this year, right? Is it just to set appointments? Right? Think about this. You get so focused on setting an appointment or making a certain number of contacts, but that's the stepping stone to the goal, right? In this business. So what is the intention? I will close this many deals. I will earn this much money. I will have a closing by this date. Think about that. I'll have closing by this date. Right? Have you written that down, Isaac? I suspect you haven't. I'm not saying that's not a criticism. How many of you said I'll have this many closings by this date? Like, set the intentions. You may say, and what? Hey, look, you might be wrong, but I can tell you one thing that will happen. Almost every goal that I've set weirdly seems to take about twice as long as I think it's supposed to. But weirdly, as you set the intention between your own actions and this universe aligning itself, I always jokingly say, whoa, you finally decided what you want. And now you're like, where is it? Have you considered the fact that it might just take a minute for everything to align? Right? It was 3 years ago where I made a decision, or 3.5 years ago now, that I made a decision I was going to sell California. It took, and everyone's like, we need it sold now. We want to sell it now. And I even internally knew it was going to take 3 years. And almost not necessarily to the day, but it took right around 2 years and 10 months. So my point is that don't get so concerned about the time frame, although you can set time frames. Like, I like to set time frames. I did in my journal today. By this date, this will happen. By this date, I will have, I am, by this date. I love putting dates next to my intentions. But I don't lose my mind if I don't achieve it by that date. As long as I know I'm moving towards it. Maybe, right? I always say there's this plan, but maybe there's like a bigger plan. Maybe there is. Maybe you're wrong. Maybe. Heavens, I know I was wrong in regards to him. Bless my former girlfriend who dear John me on my LDS mission. My heavens, I'm grateful for that. But boy, I was so committed when she married my best friend. Like, what? But man, thank God for unanswered prayers, right? Like Garth Brooks said, I am. So the thing is, sometimes we think that we know, but maybe you don't know. Maybe you aren't so certain. Maybe you aren't so all-knowing. So just be cautious as you set these things, or not conscious that, hey, maybe there's a bigger plan. Maybe you don't know everything. Maybe what you think you know, you don't know. Maybe you actually could be wrong. So I say that, but still at the same time, set your intentions, move towards it. See what this universe, what God and everything around you will assemble to give you, to bring you everything that you desire. Because I do believe you're going to get what you desire, good or bad. That I am for certain of. Because I watch it every single day. You want a lot of garbage in your life? It's like this. How many of you think you could find drugs today if you wanted them that are not prescriptions from your doctor? Actually, probably somehow figure that out too, if you really want them, right? My point is, you can figure out anything. Even if you don't have a place where you could go do what you're thinking, you would figure it out. Because life will align itself with your language, your intentions, with what you say, with what you believe. So get really clear on what you're saying. So again, this job is not about just setting appointments. This job is about closing deals. This job is about, maybe another way to say it is, I will help or assist this many families this year. I mean, just get really clear on what you intend to have happen. So remember, go back to, I said I would find my birth mother. So here's August, 2 weeks later, second email, the guy's not answering. I'm thinking they don't want to hear from me. But something inside of me just said, hey, keep going, no matter what. And I made a decision that this is how I protected myself. You know what? I just simply want to say thank you for the gift of life. I don't need anything from you. I just want to say thank you. And so I held on to that for a little bit. And I made a commitment, by the way, when I was 19 years old, that I would find my birth mother and I would just simply tell her, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm okay. And I made it to another gal who'd given up a child who said, every single day I think about him as to whether or not he's okay or not. And she goes, promise me that you'll find your mother one day and tell her I'm okay. And I held on to that. That was kind of the deal. So as time went on, then I sat down with a dear friend of mine. Maybe you've heard me talk about it before, Paige Palmer. And I said, all I want to do is just say that I just need to tell her thank you. He goes, don't you think, and man, let me tell you something, he is not a religious guy. But he goes, don't you think you could set a little better intention than just say thank you? Well, I'm like, well, if anything else could I know this was like major, like what if it wasn't? Then I would feel like I was rejected. And by the way, my stepbrother who found his birth mother, met her 2 days later, she said, I don't want to see you again. That was like happening while I found my birth mother. My other brother, who was a stepbrother, but adopted, found his birth mother. And 2 days later, after he met her for the first time, said, yeah, no, I just go your way. So my world was like, man, I got to avoid rejection at all costs, kind of like a real estate agent, right? Avoid it at all costs. Although you can't do this business, like the level of, I would say this, the level of rejection you're willing to accept, the level of income you're going to earn, your rejection levels, income levels, they go hand in hand. High rejection, like, I were prospecting night together yesterday. High rejection, high income. Low rejection, low income. They go hand in hand. Don't forget that. So the more you're able to say, man, I'm okay being rejected today. And you say, yeah, because call 50 people, 48, 47 of them, 46 of them, 49 of them will say, nope, Nancy, thank you, but no thank you. But you're looking for the one, not 50 of them today. You're looking for the one. So be okay with being rejected. So I had to move through that, right? I had to find a way through that. So then as I'm moving through this, so again, 2 weeks later, I send the second email, no answer. I get then we found your birth mother. Then 3-4 days later, if it wasn't for Kenzie, she's saying, hey, you need a call. So I call. And for the first time I get to hear, and I've been kind of scoping her out, you'd say on Facebook, because they gave me all that information for a few days. And Kenzie followed me around the house. When are you gonna call? When are you gonna call? When are you gonna call? Are you gonna call? You gonna call? And I'm like, yes, I'm gonna call. When? When are you gonna call? And she would follow me everywhere around the house until finally I'm like, okay, I'll call. So I call Aubrey, and I call and I get her voicemail. It goes straight to voicemail. And I say, and I don't leave a message. Then I'm like, okay, well, maybe, like sometimes she's on a call, so I'll call just a minute or two later. I call again. She doesn't answer, but I leave a message and I say, hey, this is George Morris. Hey, I would love to hear from you. About to jump onto a flight here in about 4 or 5 hours, but if you have a chance, give me a call. And she thought, this is what is so crazy, Nancy. She thought it was a robodialer. And her exact words, she goes, wow. In fact, she deleted my message. And she said, I thought, wow, these robodialers are getting really good. And she goes, I don't know anyone who would be getting on a plane. Every 3 days I'm on a plane, right? Especially last year, this year I'm not, but which is awesome, by the way. And she said, I don't know anyone who would get on a plane. It must be the wrong genie. And she deleted it. And so then another week later, I call. Again, she doesn't answer. Finally, I come up with this idea that I'm going to do this little thing. And I'm like, I'm going to wait till after the holidays. Like, kind of call avoiding what you're supposed to be doing. But I wait. I'm like, I don't want to disrupt her holidays. So I don't call. And then I wait until after the holidays. And then Danette Grant and Gretchen Smoot, of course, two of my closest friends. And I said, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to do a little iPad, little mini ones, little small ones. And I'm going to basically give a 10-minute message or so. And I'm going to have them deliver it to her house, basically saying, thank you. Well, in the midst of all of that happening on January 24th, now this is the key point here. So the year is done. Here's the thing. I set the intention, I want to remind, I don't want to emphasize this, but I set the intention to do what? That I would what? Find my birth mother. Find her. In the month of December, I started to set a new intention of what is it going to be? So go back to just ask yourself, man, today, what are your intentions? Ask yourself, what are my intentions for the year? How connected and committed am I to what I intend to have happen? My income, my deals, the families, what I'm going to buy, what I'm going to pay off, what I'm going to invest in. Are you clear? Are you so clear that by this date, I'll have this many closings? And you get totally connected to it. Because for the first time, remember, for 12 years, I said I was looking for my birth mother. But it wasn't until I said such a clear intention to Danette. I said, I put my finger in her face. And I said, I will find my birth mother this year. And she went, really? And that was in January of 2018. And that year I found her. And here I am moving through the rest of the year. In December, I set a new intention. What are you saying?
So I was just thinking about, I remember when you actually found her, we were to the office.
Yes, yeah.
We were out in the hallway, and I think I was the first person, and I enjoyed this thing.
Yeah. It was what's wrong with you?
I just found my birth mom, but what I was thinking about, as you're talking about setting intention, is that sometimes when we set a goal that's really exciting and we're passionate about, when we actually get it, that can still be freaking scary.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what I was thinking about that when you were saying this, because that's exactly what was happening to you. Is there were so many emotions. It wasn't just, yay, I got my goal. It was, you were a little panicked.
Yeah.
And
then I started even sabotaging myself by not calling her.
And I think we do that in business too. Sometimes
Yeah.
we get these goals and then we're like, what?
Hey, sure. I've literally felt myself stepping back from the reality of this is really going to happen.
We do, I think we do.
Think about that in business. You step back from your success, step back from what you're going to be able to have. The level of sabotage that we as human beings do on our own lives is crazy when you start paying attention to it. Yeah. Well said. Perfectly said. So just wrapping up, we're almost pretty much out of time, but so then I set the intention in December of what that relationship was going to look like. And on January 24th, even though I'd done this little iPad, Kelly, and everything else, I had set this little iPad up and I'd done two little videos. And Danette and Gretchen were going to deliver them. And then, lo and behold, on January 24th at 9:01 p.m., California time specifically, she texted me and said, hey, I understand that you're looking for me. Well, what had happened is that the day before is that my brother had said, and they were talking about me and said, yeah, he's out there. And that day, that next evening, he went into his 23andMe and started kind of looking around, and he'd have done it for health reasons because he's kind of a health guy, health nut. And he wanted to know about his health, and he went back in there. He goes, oh, I wonder if by chance there's any connections to her or to me. And he went back in there and he saw my emails. And they didn't email me still. He just texted, hey, I think I found your birth son. Here's the phone number. Literally, he's like a total analytical if you met him. He's like, yeah, here's the number. You might want to call him, basically. I haven't seen the text. I should see the text. But I know him well enough. It wasn't, hey, guess what? No. Text, Ramona. Hey, I found your birth mom. Here's the number. Or birth son, or your first son, right? So your first son. Here's the phone number. So anyway, that night she texted me and said, hey, here you go. Would you like to let me read you the text?
Yeah.
I have it right here, and then we'll wrap up. Anyway, that started a whole thing to where on February 15th, of course, I met her for the first time. But I just want to point out that it wasn't until December, guys, it wasn't until December that I intended that I was going to say, what does this relationship look like? And when I met her, it changed everything to where now they retired her. She had already retired from corporate America, and she worked, how about this, relocation and real estate, which is hilarious. And my birth father, who I met several months later, worked at Century 21 Napa Valley for like 20 years. And now he's a real estate agent and works for Century 21, Century 21 Select Group, but recently just left and went with a little small outfit with he does land and stuff. So it's crazy, just like how it's all come together. Nancy, did you raise your hand?
I did, sorry, so what were the dates again? So you said.
So January 24th, my brother got into his DNA, although Gretchen and Danette were gonna go deliver this little iPad. And before that had been set up, they were gonna do it a week before week before Valentine's. So basically this week they were gonna deliver it. But then she contacted me before that. So when I met her for the first time that night, Isaac, actually, I think it was, went over to her hotel room that next night, the night that I met her, and said, hey, here is what we were going to send you. So she got to watch the video that I was going to send her, but we never had to send the video because on February 15th. So I met her I talked to her on the 24th, which I have the whole recording. And then on the 24th, and then on the 15th of February, I met her for the first time in the Bay Area.
So did it take a whole year from when you set the?
Yes, to where I actually met her.
A whole year.
But what's crazy is that 9 months later, Nancy, I found her, right? I said, I will find my birth mother. Then it wasn't until December, like I defined and described what the relationship was going to look like. And every morning and night, I either text her or talk to her. And she always says, taking you to the airport is like me taking you to school. So she always loves to take me to the airport.
That's cute.
Yeah. Okay, so here is the text. Hey George, or hi George, this is Jeannie. You share a birthday, May 29th, 1971, with Matthew Blake, who's my brother, who was who had his DNA in 23andMe. Born May 29th, 1983, high level of DNA in common. Now, again, she got a text, so she didn't know that I've been looking for her since August. Like I knew who she was since August. She thought, wow, my son found you. That's pretty incredible. All right. And so Matthew texted me today and said, I believe I found your other son. At first, I thought Matthew was being his resourceful self. As I was just speaking of you this week, I was elated when he said that you had reached out to me with a phone number. I could not wait to reach out to you as well. I have prayed for almost 50 years for this moment. Some random pics. I can't ever stop crying when I read this. I thought it was the best text. Oh my gosh. I thought it was best to text you first to give you a chance to process the discovery. Let me know what works for you. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. There has never been a moment that I have not loved you, prayed for you, delighted to know all about you. Ooh, gosh, that's gonna do that. And your wife and your children. I have celebrated your birthday for decades in my heart. Let me know what works for you. I look forward to seeing you and hearing from you soon. Love, Gigi. All right, so there you go. So, and then the next, I talked to her for 3 hours, and yeah, it was quite a moment. But I just look, what I'm certain of is that once you find your intentions, all of a sudden this world conspires with you to receive them. And I just would echo to you that so often we wander through this life without setting our intentions. I've wandered, you've wandered. And we wander kind of through life, just like what's life going to bring? And I just would challenge you that the real message is, man, nothing that you've ever created, you didn't see first. Nothing that you've ever had, you didn't see first. And if you feel it, and when we say an intention, man, like not just setting a goal, like what's your intention? Like, I intend to have this happen. It's not an if, and, or but, it will happen. And sometimes we we fail to recognize that, man, we are the designers of our own future and our own path, and we have the power to set the intentions of what we want our life to look like. So just remember, and I'm not here to say that it's not difficult. If any of you have been watching even Jennifer's posts on Instagram, and if you've listened to them, man, you listen to the journey, like there's nothing easy about the intentions necessarily that you set and the person that you intend to become or the life that you intend to live. That's the challenge of the journey, right? And there was so much emotion, of course, with that, finding my birth mother, to where then, here I am a year later, the year after I find her, here she is now living 5 minutes from my house. I mean, it's crazy when I think about it, as I described what it was going to be. But then you say, well, what if it wasn't that? Because here's the thing. The majority of the people that I have talked to, I can only name 3 people that I talked to them and they describe their relationship with finding their birth parents as if it is awesome. Every other person I've ever talked to who's found their birth parents or knows about them, horrible experiences or borderline horrible. I mean, just like so disconnected, so screwed up, so messed up. It's just crazy. Like I have another brother who was so inspired by what I had done. Stepbrother, his name's Red. Some of you may have met him over the years, but he's adopted also, stepbrother. But he's like I say that to you so it makes sense to you, but he's my brother. Months later, he says, I'm gonna go find my birth parents. And both of them within the last 5 years have passed away. So he got to meet his parents, he got to meet his siblings, and it's a wonderful experience. But both of them had passed away. And so the thing I would just echo to you is I don't know what the future holds exactly for you, but I do believe deeply that you're known. I deeply believe that you have the ability to set your intentions and you have the ability to go and receive what you want your life to look like. And sometimes we so carelessly scoff or mock or roll our eyes or make fun of the fact of setting intentions as if like you can't achieve it or have it or receive it or accomplish it. And I would just challenge you that, man, it's a reminder to me, even again today for myself, that whatever you want, whatever you desire, just set the intention and weave as much emotion around it as you can. And just figure and find out, maybe it's possible. Maybe this income goal, maybe the people you help, maybe the amount of deals that you do, or maybe it's who could I become to earn that much money. But man, if you will set the intentions and get really clear on it, I just really can't even imagine what you're capable of achieving. I think you will blow yourself away as to what is possible when you get really clear. Why we do gratitudes is so that you don't filter and talk yourself out of maybe what's possible. Because when you're in a state of gratitude, emotionally, mentally, physically, like it's just oozing from you, gratitude, you start to operate from a life of fearlessness. You start moving towards what you want instead of pushing back on it. You stop filtering what you want your goals, your life, and your dreams to be, and you stop talking yourself out of what's possible because you're not living in fear. And again, I go back to, man, if someone else can do this business, look around you. If some people start focusing on the 80 or 90% of the people who are not succeeding, but if you'll take the time to focus and be inspired by the people who are winning this game of real estate, who are succeeding, who are making it happen, who are having success, and you'll look at them, you go, whoa, if they can do it, so can I. That is what got me into this business. If they can do it, so can I. Well, if I can set an intention, so can you. There's nothing different between you or me. You can set it. The crazy thing is that you're setting intentions every day. It's just being conscious of what you're setting, aware of what you're saying, aware of what you're doing. You got to become aware so that you can set the intentions in the life and live the life that you're destined to live. All right? Deal?
Yeah.
All right, let's rock and roll. I know I'm a little over. I apologize. I'm about 8 or 9 minutes over. And we cried. So it's all good. Right, Aaron?
That's great.
It's going to be a good day. Finish strong. Here you are, halfway through the week. Get really clear. Get really clear.